Okay, everybody, welcome. This is Sean, and today is Thursday, October 8th, 2015. So we are live today, and I just want to welcome everybody to this webcast. We have quite a few people in the room today, and so if you wouldn't mind just enter in the chat box and let me know where you're logging in from, where you're joining us from real quick. And let me know if you have any issues with the audio or video at any time, okay? I'm gonna be off to the races. I'm gonna be jumping in and out of the chat box to check questions. And so I'll be responding to those as we go. I'll be in and out of the chat room, but go ahead and post a question anytime you want, and I'll jump into the chat room with you and we'll answer those questions as quickly as we can, okay? Let's get started real quickly. I'm gonna share my computer screen with you because I wanna show you a couple of articles that I've seen recently that are kind of concerning to me. And I wanted to start there for a reason. One article is on Zero Hedge right now. It talks about the government's plan to ban physical cash and how it's coming sooner rather than later, okay? Why would the government ban physical cash? Well, they go on to explain that usually, well, right now, as it stands in America, less than 1% of all cash or money is in its physical form, in the form of paper bills and coins. The rest of it is purely electronic. All right, so how much of that is in currency right now? Well, they tell us that there's about $1.3 trillion in physical currency floating around America and around the world right now. Now, most of that is held in a warehouse by the Federal Reserve. So it's not actually out there in the marketplace working. We use debit cards, we use all kinds of credit cards and digital currency right now today as it stands. You know, I always laugh at these people that talk about Bitcoin all the time and how wonderful Bitcoin is and companies like that for this digital currency. And I laugh because we're already in a digital currency world, people. You know, all the government has to do is to create money is to type it into a little computer, and they've created new money in the form of credit or derivatives. And when you look at all the derivatives, including digital money that's out there in the form of short-term and long-term accounts, meaning money market and savings accounts, let me make this a little bit bigger. There's roughly 10 trillion in money that's in the financial system just in small savings accounts, basically money market accounts and short-term accounts. If you look at the US stock market, there's $20 trillion in the US stock market right now that's in equity in stocks, okay? And if you talk about corporations, municipal governments, state governments, federal governments, the loans that the Federal Reserve has outstanding with those entities is $38 trillion. So you add up 38 and 20, 10 and 1.36, and what do you get? $58 trillion. That's how much money, digital money, is floating around the world. And they go on to tell us that if you're talking about derivatives that are between the big banks and corporations, it's north of $220 trillion right now in outstanding money, base money that's out there. Actually, that's not base money, sorry. That's M3. That number is M3, which is all credit derivatives and credit products, meaning short-term loans, credit card loans, student loans, home loans, car loans, derivative products, CDOs, and junk bonds, commercial paper, etc. Okay? Kind of scary to me that there's $220 trillion of quote unquote money in the system, and yet we see that Germany, for one, is looking at repatriating their gold, 120 tons of gold from Paris and New York, as early as they possibly can. The U.S. government has a schedule of when they're going to be repatriating that gold back to Germany. They say that by 2020, by the year 2020, they're going to transfer over 300 tons of gold from New York, from the United States to Germany, okay? By 2013, they had 5 tons transferred. 2014, 85 tons were transferred. They've transferred 90 tons to date, and they still have 210 tons of gold remaining in the system, or in the that they owe Germany back. Okay, so kind of a scary situation out there because we don't have this gold. You know, if you look right now on the COMEX at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, if you look at the physical gold right now that's being traded on the COMEX with paper, there's about $86 billion in paper that's being traded on the COMEX in gold. And if you look in the warehouse, in the physical warehouse itself, there's only $387 million worth of gold physically in the warehouse. So right now, as it stands today, we don't have enough gold to back up the paper that we're trading on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, let alone send our gold to Germany. So how's the government going to regulate that, or how are they going to fix that problem? Kind of a scary situation. So let me jump into the chat box real quickly and take everybody's pulse and see how we're doing. Any questions right now? No questions. We've got a couple of people that are typing in something. We'll come back to you guys in a minute. I'll keep an eye out in the chat room and answer your questions as we go. But I thought that was interesting today to wake up to a lot of surprises. You know, we've got a lot of other things going on as well around the world globally, as far as the global economy is concerned. Let me pull these up real quick. Some of these articles that I've been reading about what's happening internationally. This is an interesting one. The Federal Reserve finally came out and admitted that they decided not to increase interest rates, largely due to the downturn in the market. Now, what does the Federal Reserve have to do with Wall Street? I thought the two were supposed to be completely separate, and that they weren't supposed to influence each other. Wasn't that the deal that Wall Street made? So we got a lot of activity happening internationally. We got the Russian army and military has actually gone into Syria and bombed the heck out of Syria and ISIS, and they've moved troops in to occupy the area. So there are over 200,000 troops now that are on ground in Syria. All right. At the same time, we've got headlines that read that NATO threatens to send in troops after Russia stations ground battalion in Syria. So what the heck is going on internationally? You look at the Bundesbank, which is Germany's central banking system. Since 1968, we've been holding their gold. Okay. Largely in part because of the deal that we made with them after World War II. We basically gave them credit so that we could rebuild all of Europe, bring it back to modern day society after we had bombed the heck out of them after World War II. And so we gave the European Union, or Europe in general, a line of credit to draw on to rebuild their countries, their independent countries, their sovereign nations. And in exchange for that, we took all their gold. Well, in 1945, Charles de Gaulle, who was the president of France at the time, came out publicly and stated how insane they were to be shipping their gold overseas to the United States, that they were giving up their power and giving up their sovereignty, which is an interesting concept. So Charles de Gaulle, the president of France back in 1945, recognized that by giving up your wealth to any government, you are giving up your individuality, your sovereignty. And the United States is built on this one notion that we are all individual sovereign entities. Every citizen of the United States is sovereign or a head of the government. Did you know that? I bet a lot of you didn't know that. So we have some interesting components that are happening right now. Another one is that I find is interesting is this one here, this article here that says, is it time for negative rates? Is it time for negative interest rates? What does that mean? Well, if you're familiar with what's going on in Europe right now, and you're familiar with what's going on around the world, you'll know that there are several banks internationally that actually charge their customers to hold their money in savings. So instead of earning a measly 1% on your savings, what we would talk about, or what we would do is we would actually have to pay those banks to actually have a savings account. They would charge us negative interest rates in order for us not to hold our cash with banks. So where do you put your cash? Where do you stash your cash? Well, do you remember our old economic model here that we had from last week? Does anybody remember that? Go ahead and just chime in and let me know if you did. I'm going to take a real quick jump into the chat room real quick, see if there are any questions. All right, nobody has a question yet. Good deal. Let me share my screen again, and we'll go back to the personal economic model. Okay, so we have this economic model here, and it's real simply, it's just your personal economy. And the way your personal economy works is you earn income from various sources, either earned income or other sources, or maybe you have assets that are positioned in other ways, like in cash, in savings, for example. Well, that money flows into your income tank, and that is your total lifetime capital potential. And remember, that number is finite. It's not infinite, it's finite. And so we have to create efficient use of that money in order for us to enjoy the lifestyle that we want down the road. Remember? So what we do is, instead of transferring your wealth through taxes or through living expenses and have that money gone and lost forever, what we do is we recommend that you just take a little bit of energy and effort. When you do get cash flow in the door, you lock down this valve here, this tax valve, you divert that money up into some kind of safe savings account, some kind of an emergency fund, some kind of rock solid account where your money is guaranteed from loss and you always have access to it. All right. Now, who knows what type of accounts those are, or what those even look like? Anyone? Well, for us, what we use is permanent life insurance, because back in the 80s, life insurance was considered a trust. Actually, there were laws passed back in the 80s that made life insurance lawsuit proof, judgment proof, and creditor proof. Basically, life insurance is a safe harbor. It's even safe against the government. I don't know if you all know that or not, but the government can't even touch the account because it's a social contract. It's a contract between you and the company. And as such, there are no other parties to that contract. Does that make sense? It's just you and the company. Any third party, including the government, doesn't have title to enter into that contract or get any assets from that contract. So it's considered a safe harbor. Your money's guaranteed from loss, and it's guaranteed growth over time. You know, right now, these accounts are growing at a safe dividend of about 6% right now. As interest rates increase, those dividend rates will increase as well. Because think about it this way, the insurance companies, what they do is they manage a portfolio of productive assets, income producing assets. And so their hard money loans, their real estate projects, their bridges, their toll roads, their infrastructure projects, but they're all income producing investments. Okay. And they actually own the investment. They don't just own a piece of paper that says they own the investment. They actually physically own the asset itself. So in the event of a risky situation, they can sell that asset and get cash and not have to worry about the derivative situation where, you know, the situation in reality of derivatives is that, you know, I owe you $100, you owe your brother $100, your brother owes your sister $100. So if I don't pay you, how's your sister ever going to get paid back? That's the state of affairs right now. Versus insurance companies that have a one-to-one counterparty relationship. Counterparty relationship is simply an investor and the investee, where the insurance company hands over the money to invest with the investee, and you participate in those returns. It's that simple, okay? what I thought we could do today was do something a little bit differently and go through an actual case study. So let me shut these down a little bit here, some of these tabs down. I have a case study of a 45-year-old couple, lots and lots of cash, and they plan on retiring at age 65. So they have roughly 20 years left of work before they want to retire. They're in the 30% tax bracket, and their investments are averaging 6% right now. That's net of all fees, okay? So most financial planners will tell you that they're earning anywhere from 6 to 8%. We're going on the low side of that. We're also, that 6% number is coming from the dividends from the insurance companies that are actually paying these contracts today, okay? And then if you remember last week, we talked about distribution rates or spend down rates. Right now, economics professors at Harvard University are saying that the standard withdrawal rate of 4% is a little too high. It's a little too high. And that if you're withdrawing your money from your retirement account at 4% a year, you're probably going to run out of money before you run out of breath. Okay, so they believe, again, this is Harvard Business School, believes that if you actually, lost my train of thought there. If you actually were to spend down your money at 4%, I'm sorry, then you would probably run out of money in the first 15 years of retirement. Okay, that's how scared they are of that withdrawal rate. So they think a more realistic withdrawal rate is below 3%. So it's 2.8% is the actual number that they give us. But what I'm going to use is 3.5% withdrawal rate. Okay. Now this couple, they've done really well for themselves. They've got about $200,000 in a 401k right now with their employer, and they've got about $300,000 in cash sitting in a money market account or savings account, earning next to nothing. Okay. What do money market accounts earn right now? Less than 1% or 1%, right around there. And so we're going to have to calculate what their income will look like, knowing that this number is not going to be there because they're not earning 6% on this cash. Make sense? Okay. So right now what they're doing is they're contributing about $17,500 to their 401k, and their employer is matching it with about $10,000 a year, or 5% of their gross income. All right. This couple makes, anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And so their employer matches that to the tune of anywhere from 5 to 7%, depending on the year. Okay. You follow me? So it's roughly $10,000 a year. We're going to leave that 401k alone. What we're going to talk about today is what would it look like if we move this cash slowly over time into a life insurance contract where it'll be safe, where it'll be guaranteed. Well, they'll earn more interest than they're currently earning. Remember, they're not earning 6%. And so in 20 years, that account is not going to grow to $962,000. Does that make sense? And so we have to actually back out what we believe we need to back out in order for that account to dwindle down to next to nothing. Okay. Now, $26,000, I'm okay with that. If we can get that to dwindle down in the next 10 years, all we're trying to do at this point is trick the calculator into believing that at retirement, the retirement value of that cash is not going to be what we thought it was, because they're going to be moving that money into a life insurance account. Make sense? All right. Now, if they were to rely solely on their income from their 401k, now you can see that if their 401k was to grow at an average rate of return, remember we're talking averages here, which are not true rates of return. There are actual rates of return, and then there are averages. Do you remember that conversation that we had about fluctuating returns versus averages? We're talking averages here. The old joke is that there were 3 statisticians that all went bow hunting. The first statistician shot 10 feet to the left. The second statistician shot 10 feet to the right. The third statistician jumped up and said, "We got him," because they deal in averages. Statisticians deal in averages. And so when we're talking about statistical averages, we're going to use average rates of return and average withdrawal rates Fair enough? Okay, well, you can see that if they withdraw their money at 3.5%, that only provides about 60 grand a year in retirement so that they don't run out of money. Make sense? So as things are right now, as they stand right now, they can expect to get about $61,000 a year out of their retirement account. Now, they're accustomed to earning anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000. So that's going to be a heck of a pay cut in retirement during the time when they want to enjoy the money the most. Make sense? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to reposition this $300,000 over time into a life insurance contract. And I've got that actual life insurance contract pulled up right now in front of me. And I wanted to show you the illustration right now. What we're going to be doing is moving $30,000 a year over from that cash account into a life insurance account over the next 10 years. Does that make sense? So $300,000 is going to be transferred over the next 10 years into a life insurance contract. And when it's all said and done, the total net cash value on that contract will be $382,000. Does that make sense to everybody? The death benefit will be $1.2 million at that time. The starting death benefit, day one, for just repositioning that money, you know, day one. Now, does that mean that you can put all $300,000 into the contract on day one? No, it doesn't, because that would turn it into a taxable account, right? To learn more about that, you should probably watch the video on MEC limits, on the modified endowment contract limits for life insurance. We can talk more about that in another discussion. But so you can't move it over all at once. You got to drip that money in, $30,000 a year for the next 10 years. And so we just need to trick the calculator again and put a negative number in here so that there doesn't show a lot of cash reserves in that checking account, in that savings account over that time frame. Because what this calculator is calculating is every year, if you're moving 30,000 over, the remainder is earning 6%. So we have to trick the calculator and just come up with a fake number to dwindle that money down so that it offsets what you're doing over here on this side. Do you follow me? Did that make sense? You might have to rewind and watch that. So anyway, day one, we're looking at $698,000 in life insurance. Let's call it $700,000. And we're looking at almost $20,000 in cash value. So we're going to put 20,000, and we can leave that at 1945. Okay. And then if you look at age 65, the year which they want to retire, the cash value has grown to $694,000, almost $700,000, and the death benefit is almost $1.5 million. And so I've input those numbers over here. Does that make sense to everybody? All I've done is taken them from this life insurance illustration and transposed them into our calculator here. Okay. And again, we're going to be rolling $30,000 a year into this life insurance account over the next 10 years. So what is the economic impact of that one simple decision? Getting your cash off of the sidelines and putting it to work by repositioning that cash into life insurance. How does that benefit you economically? Okay. Well, here's the answer. What you'll see is that by repositioning your wealth into life insurance, it provides you with this death benefit, this net tax-free death benefit to your family. What does that mean for you? Well, what that means for you is that you can then spend down all of your retirement savings at a much higher interest rate, generating much more income, knowing that it's all going to be replaced by death benefit. Okay. Now, actually, this number is incorrect because this number needs to be 2128571. Why does that number need to be 2128571? Well, because this is a pre-tax qualified asset. Well, if it's a pre-tax qualified asset and you're able to cover it, then you should be able to spend down all of your retirement and then some, just by covering it with death benefit. In other words, you can spend down that money at your leisure, knowing that when you die, it's all going to be replaced by death benefit, and you will have not disinherited your family. Does that make sense? So you can spend down all of your money at a much higher rate, withdrawal rate, knowing that you have this tax-free death benefit upon death to replenish that cash or that asset, that savings, so your family's not disinherited. Make sense? Okay, let's hit next and save and move on. What it also allows you to do is it allows you to spend that money down and use the cash value whenever you see volatility in the marketplace. You know, if you left your 401k in the market and at age 65, it did what we said it was going to do, and it grew to $1.7 million. If you wanted to spend that money down, sometimes you have down years when you're withdrawing your money from the 401k. Well, what this allows you to do is during those down years, when you see an increase in volatility in the markets, you don't have to spend the money in the 401k. You can dip into your cash value in your life insurance contract tax-free. Does that make sense? So it gives you a little bit of buffer in the event that we see some market volatility. All right, so you can spend your savings down again at a higher rate, at a much higher spend down rate, generating much more income for yourself and your family, knowing that you can also supplement or dip into this pool of cash in your life insurance contract over your retirement years, tax-free. And so at the end of the day, it gives you about 7 years of volatility buffer, meaning 7 years of the market going down and not spending your 401k money, but spending the cash value in your life insurance, that money, and then waiting for the market to recover before you dip into your 401k again. Does that make sense? And so if we hit view summary and save, you can see the net result of our one decision to transfer or move over or reposition. All we're doing is repositioning cash from a money market account or a savings account where it's not safe, where the government is going to clamp down and control those accounts, and it moves it into a safe account over time where it's safe, it's liquid, you get better rates of return, and you can access that money at any time. You can access it tomorrow or 10 years from now or 5 years from now or 30 years from now. It doesn't matter. It's your money, okay? And so the net effect of it at retirement with the spend down rates that we know to be true, that 3.5% rather than 4%, with his existing money base. Remember, they've done a good job. So, I mean, good on you. You know, you've saved a ton of money, $500,000 he's saved so far. If he just left that money alone, he would generate $56,000 a year in income with his existing money that he saved. If he continues to add to his 401k, it'll beef it up a little bit, but none of that money is guaranteed. Remember, it's all in the market. And so, yeah, you see a little bit of an increase in income at retirement, but not a lot, and it's not guaranteed. Versus doing it our way, where you annuitize that money or roll that 401k into an annuity where you're guaranteed income for life. For life. What does the word guaranteed mean to you? That's the question I have for people today. What does the word guaranteed mean to you? If you were to do that, $174,000 a year would show up in your mailbox every year, year after year after year, as long as you were alive, guaranteed, guaranteed. And so that difference between 60,000 and, let's see, we got 174,736 minus 60,901 equals $113,000 a year extra. It's $118,000 above and beyond his existing money base. This $56,000 number, it's $118,000 beyond that. But what we do is we multiply this by 30 years because we're expecting to retire and live for another 30 years in retirement, right? Look what this one decision of repositioning his cash has done for him. We have just created an extra $3.4 million in spendable cash during his retirement years, just by making one simple decision to reposition this cash from a money market account or a savings account into life insurance. That's incredible. And of course, if you want to just use the life insurance money at your leisure and keep your 401k in place, that's okay too. You've got plenty of cash in there to do that. And we typically like to see, we aim for about 5 years of volatility buffer. We believe that 5 years is a good amount of money, good amount of cash reserves in the life insurance contract to allow the market to recover. But this gives you 7.1 years of volatility buffer against a down market. Okay. So again, the question I have for you is really simple. Would you prefer to be salmon or red and continue to go about doing things the same way you're doing them right now? Or would you prefer to be blue, or would you prefer to be green? It's your choice. Okay. Now, how do we do that? Well, we do that using our personal economic model, our old friend here. Does everybody remember this? Okay. So if we go back to our personal economic model, again, we see money coming in and we have taxes to pay. Well, what we do is we clamp down on that tax valve. We redirect the money into life insurance, into permanent life insurance. And then when we're ready to retire, all we do is we just simply, sorry about that. All we do is we simply shut down that tax valve, divert the money into life insurance, and then what we do is we just collateralize those funds, borrow against the account, use the insurance company's money, because this is the life insurance money. They just take a lien and place that lien against your insurance policy, against the cash value in your life insurance policy. So they're very secure in this position, aren't they? Because what happens if you never repay that loan back to them? What are they going to do with your cash value? That's right. They'll just take it out of your cash value, and whatever is remaining will transfer to your heirs tax-free, along with the death benefit. Does that make sense? But what we do is we borrow against it, collateralize that account, and use the life insurance company's money tax-free, because remember, this money is a loan. It's not considered income, so it's not taxable. It's tax-free. And we spend that money on our lifestyle, or use that money and we give that money to Uncle Sam to pay the tax bill, or we use that money and we invest it in some kind of deal. Hopefully it's an income producing deal, so that when the income comes back in, you can just simply pay down that lien over time and release that lien, and your money continues to grow and compound over time. All right. Now, why do we do it this way? Well, because it creates more efficient use of your cash flow. As you earn money, instead of transferring that wealth unintentionally out of your personal economy and just spending it or using it for taxes or wasting it, you're actually redirecting that money into savings, earning interest, uninterrupted compound interest. Remember, that compound interest curve goes like that. It's like a hockey stick. Once it gets going, you want to increase that compounding effect as quickly as possible, right, over time. Well, the way that we do that is we get the money in there as quickly as we can, and then we just simply collateralize that 30 grand or that 60 grand or that 90 grand as we go on down the road, and use that money to spend to go on vacations or whatever the case may be. You know, we talk about using this money on an ongoing basis for anything from, cars, vacations, even paying off your home mortgage, groceries, entertainment, college tuition, whatever the case may be. You can collateralize these accounts and use that money for anything you want to, because this cash account, this cash value in your life insurance is guaranteed from loss and is used as collateral by the life insurance company. All right. Now, how do you pay off that loan if you want to? Let's say you're working still, making good money, and you want to pay down those loans and do the whole thing all over again. Well, what we do is we simply take your income, divert it back into your insurance account. We use that new money to pay off this loan. You add more to the account here, which all compounds and grows. And then you just simply rinse and repeat. Do the process all over again. Use the life insurance company's money to pay your bills next quarter or next year. And then when you get new money coming in, you simply just amortize those loans and pay them down, and you earn uninterrupted compound interest on all of your cash into perpetuity. Okay? Why do we do that? Well, the reason we do that is very simple. Let's take a look at this client here, the same client. We got a 45-year-old male. They make, let's call it $175,000 a year. Their income is going to grow at roughly 3% a year. They have $500,000 saved in various savings accounts. Positive 500,000. And let's just say for grins that they can earn 6% on that money. All right. Take a look at this. Over the next 20 years, they're going to have transferred, or their income potential is going to be 4.7% or $4.7 million. Sorry, I'm distracted. I apologize. By age 65, their income, their total income that has flowed through their personal economy will reach $4.7 million. And with their savings, including their savings into that equation, their total personal economy will have seen $10.2 million flow through it. Now, the first question I have is, how are you going to capture and control that money? How are you going to make sure that you don't transfer that $10 million unnecessarily or unknowingly? Because that's what we typically do. And the way we do that is through various things like taxes, debt service, lifestyle expenses, etc. So if this client is in the 30% tax bracket, just by paying Uncle Sam out of your own pocket over the next 20 years, remember we're just talking from 45 to 65 here, over the next 20 years, they'll have transferred, look at that number, they'll have transferred $2.5 million to Uncle Sam in the next 20 years, just in taxes alone. And so the question I have is, do you believe taxes are going down, up, or staying the same in the future? If you believe they're going up, then we really need to talk. If you believe inflation is going up, then we really need to talk, okay? The other area where we transfer our wealth is through debt service. And again, if you go to any mortgage broker and you apply for a new home mortgage, the most you can qualify for is 35% of your gross income in the form of debt service. And that includes all of your credit card debt, your car loans, your student loans, and your new home loan. So if you want to afford a nicer home, you need to eliminate that credit card, car loan, and student loan debt immediately. We can show you how to do that sooner than you think, okay? But the maximum loan to value that they'll approve you for is 35% loan to value. And then, of course, we spend anywhere from 20 to 40% of our income on lifestyle. And so I'm going to hit that number right in the middle and call it 30%, which leaves you only 5% of your income left to start saving. Watch what happens when we hit calculate. This number is staggering to me. $8.2 million of your wealth, your hard-earned money will not go to your lifestyle. It'll go to other things. It'll be transferred out of your personal economy, and it'll be gone forever. And what's worse to me is that not only will you transfer that principal, but you'll never be able to earn interest on any of this money in the future because it's gone and you'll never be able to recapture that interest, that compounding, okay? And so the way we do it is we just simply, going back to our personal economic model here, we just simply change the game. You know, we do things a little bit differently. We just say instead of transferring that wealth, let's take that money that we're earning now and reposition wealth that we have already into some kind of safe harbor that's lawsuit proof, judgment proof, and creditor proof, where nobody can touch the cash. And then whenever we want money or whenever we need money for income or for investments or anything else, Sorry to hear, folks, having technical difficulties. When we have any difficulties like that, sorry, when we have any expenses like that, what we'd simply do is collateralize that account and use other people's money, use the life insurance company's money to spend, okay, or to pay the tax bill, or to invest in other things. All right. And then with the investment, when you liquidate the investment, you just simply capture that money when you invest it, or when you liquidate the asset, pay off that loan, add more to the total, or add more insurance policies behind it, and do the whole thing all over again. Just rinse and repeat. Borrow out against it, invest that money, let it work for you in the investment, cash out of the investment, capture all of that money, 100% of it. When you capture that money and you owe taxes on it, where are you going to go to get the cash to pay the tax bill on the capital gains from your investment? That's right. You get it from borrowing it from the life insurance company. Okay? So I hope that's useful to you. I hope that's useful information. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. And what I wanted to do was, let's see here, stop sharing the screen. What I wanted to do was I wanted to load this real quickly, this offer, and play this real short video for you as we leave. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. And before we leave, I just wanted to say that the world is getting crazier and crazier out there. You want to get your money out of the market as quickly as you possibly can. And we have solutions to doing that. We can show you exactly how to do that, whether it's in qualified or non-qualified accounts, whether it's in a 401k or just simply sitting there as cash. Okay, we can help you to get it out of the market, get it out of that volatility, get real returns, which are dividends, that actually is cash being added to your balance, that is compounding and growing, and you still maintain liquid use and control over those funds. Okay, so here's the offer. I'm offering a free 30-minute coaching call to the first 25 people who contact us. And so if you have an idea of where your money is positioned, download this fact finder worksheet on the offer button here where it says download now. Download that worksheet, fill it out, and email it back to me. And if you do that, the first 25 people who do that, I'll call you up and we'll schedule some time to go through your personal economy. Make sure that you're safe. Make sure that you're liquid. Make sure that you're earning the best return that you can with your wealth, and make sure that you're able to spend your money down as you wish, not by default at $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year. Okay. In other words, we don't want you to have to take a pay cut in retirement. Picture this. Picture yourself retiring, going home to your significant other saying, "Hey, sweetie, good news is I retired this week. Bad news is we got to take a pay cut." How do you think they're going to feel about that when they hear that? Versus going home and saying, "Hey, sweetie, guess what? I get to retire this week. And better news, we get a pay increase." I mean, if I were the significant other, I would prefer the latter, obviously. So anyway, if you're interested in learning more about this program or this solution, contact us as soon as possible, and have a great week. We will be back next week with another presentation. I'm going to be doing another case study, but as we near the collapse of the market, the word of the day is exit. Exit. That's the word of the day. Get out of the market as fast as you can, and contact us if you're interested in repositioning your wealth and keeping it safe. Okay. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.